Okay, bitches and bros and non-binary hoes, hopefully you saw my more queer characters in Western animated shows for kids video, in which I said that from now on my videos will mostly be freeform from now on, so whee!
Wow.
Okay, let's start with Rewind the Gay. Kakegurui Twin is a prequel series to the original anime, taking place a year before and focus on Mary, and is coming out on Netflix in August. Kakegurui always had Yuri elements to it, which varied from subtext to very explicit. So it's entirely possible that the Twin prequel series will have some Yuri elements as well, and if it does, I will report in full next time. Now this is normally where I talk about the queer characters from this current summer season, but there's honestly not too many anime this season that really interested me, so it's quite possible that I missed some. Let me know. I can do some foreshadowing. In the original Tokyo Mew Mew anime, Mint admits that she loves fellow Mew Mew Zakuro, so maybe that'll transfer into Tokyo Mew Mew New. I am watching a new season of Shadow's House, but I'm watching the simul dub because I'm caught up with the manga, so I'll be behind. But watch out for Rosemary and Mary Rose during the season. There's something going on between those two, and Mary Rose looks like a female prince right out of Rosa the Versailles. While I was in the middle of making this video, however, Crunchyroll released the OVA of Sasaki and Miyano. Taking place shortly after the cultural festival, the OVA features the boys searching for a lost keychain, which ends up having to do with the cats that can be seen around campus. So, nothing that special happens here. The only notable thing to talk about is that we finally get a romantic scene between Hirono and his roommate, which was a relationship that the anime skipped out of adapting, so it was good to get a little tease of the relationship here. In the end, the Sasaki and Miyano OVA was a fun romp with some cute scenes sprinkled in, making me really look forward to the movie coming out next year. Alright, let's talk about the previous season of anime, spoilers ahead. So Requiem for a Rose King is going to be difficult to talk about because it's just a lot. It's just a lot. It's a 3 to 4 core story squeezed into a 2 core anime with very limited animation. So as I go through Richard's journey, who, for those who don't remember, is intersex, I may skim through some plot points. As we continue the war of the Yorks versus Lannisters in the first half of the anime, we get introduced to Buckingham, who will be more important in the anime's second half. But as for right now, he's just a little shit who wants to be the kingmaker and make Richard the king. Richard tries to develop a relationship with Anne, but between his fears of his bodies, thanks to his visions of Joan, and overhearing a conversation with Anne's father, he is unable to be with her. With his older brother and King Edward kidnapped by the Lancasters, Richard goes undercover as a woman to try and free him. In the process, he runs into Prince Edward again. That's another problem. All the male characters in the anime are called either Richard, Edward, or Henry. It can get really confusing at times, especially to talk about it. Due to the previous encounter, Edward still believes Richard to be a woman, and Richard's undercover at the time probably doesn't help. But Edward is very much in love with Richard. Because of Edward's mother and Anne's father, Edward and Anne are forced into marriage, though they keep their distance from each other, knowing that both are in love with Richard. Though Edward tells Anne that Richard is a woman, and Anne tells Edward that Richard is a man. Meanwhile, having freed his older brother, Richard has another encounter with Henry, still unaware of who he truly is. Richard sees Henry as someone who could embrace Richard's body and feel the loneliness that he's felt all his life. But that might be hard, as Henry seems to be triggered by a woman's presence, having to do with his mother's infidelity that he witnessed and his wife raping him in order to consummate the royal marriage and to give birth to an heir. Edward's mother does the same with him and Anne, forcing them to sleep together to signify their marriage right in front of her. Though through everything, it seems that Edward and Anne are growing closer together. The final battle of the arc happens as Richard has internal conflict within himself. And I do love how this is portrayed in the anime. On one side we have Richard's father, who wants Richard to continue to be his son and carry on his name that he gave to him, to protect the crown at all costs. On the other side, we have Joan of Arc, who wants Richard to embrace his body of being both male and female, to go to Henry. In the end, Richard chooses his father, swearing once again to avenge him. And so in the end, he kills Edward and discovers that Henry is the king of his enemy. In the last episode of the first half, Richard tells Henry about his secret in his body, a part of him still wanting Henry's light. But Henry has been influenced by Richard's mother's poison, and so Henry rejects Richard, pushing him to kill Henry. Richard finishes off the Lancasters and marries Anne, who is devastated to be alone again. The two even have a son together, though they both know that Edward is the child's biological father. And now we enter the second half of the anime and a time skip, because Buckingham has really grown up in between. Buckingham still wants to make Richard the king. Though rejecting this idea at first, Richard becomes upset at his older brother, King Edward's sexual antics and disregard for their father's royal legacy, falling for a witch named Jane. For now is the winter of our discontent, made great summer by the son of York. Richard's final straw is being forced into an orgy party where it is a little unclear if he was forced to have sex with his brother and Jane. After King Edward dies due to illness, rumors go around the country about Richard's demonic body. Buckingham becomes suspicious of Richard and believes that he is hiding a secret from him. He soon discovers that Richard is intersex and proposes something to him. Allow Buckingham to have sex with him and he will be Richard's kingmaker, as Richard now wishes to be king in order to honor his father. Richard and Buckingham become secret lovers and manipulate things behind the scenes in order to get Richard on the throne and all of his enemies either dead or locked away. Later on, the final obstacle of Richard appears, Richmond. A sort of opposite party is held in order to throw Richmond off, where men become women and peasants can become king. Anne, still suspicious of Richard's gender, has him dress as a woman. In the process and in secret, Richard and Buckingham run away from the party to share one last night together. Also, by the way, it's revealed that Henry is alive and it's become James Terrell, an assassin. And if it sounds like I'm brushing over that, it's because the anime kind of does, never giving an explanation on how he's still alive after Richard stabbed him multiple times, but whatever. Richard begins to fall ill, and thanks to Jane, he discovers that because he was intimate with Buckingham, he is now pregnant. Buckingham discovers this and wants to keep Richard for himself. Richard rejects him, and suddenly, Buckingham goes to war against him. Richard and his army is able to defeat him, killing him himself, and takes medicine from Jane in order to abort the baby. As Richmond also prepares to go to war against Richard for the crown, spreading more rumors of Richard's demon body, Anne grows ill and is on death's door. She wishes for their son to escape so that they won't be killed in this continuous war for the crown. And Richard does so. So with his lover, his wife, and his son gone, Richard feels completely alone. It also doesn't help that Richard's mother tells him that Richard's father was never his biological father, but was the result of an affair that she had. I do love that, through it all, Gatsby continues to stay by Richard's side, always in love with him and calling his body beautiful, no matter what. In the final battle, as Richard is struck down by Richmond's army, Richard comes to a realization. His previous visions of Joan of Arc were never against him. She was only there to help him, as the two were more alike than Richard ever realized. And so in the process, Richard is able to embrace his male and female body and truly love himself for the first time. As Richmond takes the crown, James takes the place of Richard to be killed as Gatsby takes Richard away from the battle. And that's it, my very quick run-through of Richard's journey. Unfortunately, I didn't get into Requiem for a Rose King as much as I wanted to. Its rough pacing and very limited animation made it so that I couldn't get into the character's constant and quick changes of motivation and actions. Plus, I just wasn't a fan of the anime's continual use of sensualization when it came to Richard and his intersex identity instead of being overall sympathetic. But you know what? I haven't seen an intersex character have this much screen time when it comes to their own story and being the main character in said story. Plus, the dub has a bunch of transgender and non-binary voice actors as main and supporting characters, so in the end, who the fuck am I the judge? We got the next core of Komi Can't Communicate episodes, so let's visit Yamai, the psycho-lesbian, and Najimi, the gender-queer ball of energy. It's honestly more or less the same for both of them, though in Yamai's case, I feel like they increased her creepiness 100-fold. She tries to see Komi's underwear, tries to touch her breasts, gives her a chocolate shaped like her for White's Day. It's just so over the top. It just comes to a point where I'm genuinely wondering if Komi has any awareness of Yamai's actions, or if Tadano can't tell Komi that maybe she shouldn't be friends with this creep. Even in the penultimate episode when I was thinking that they have to at least give Yamai one heartwarming moment, one moment to make us like her. Something that will show how her love for Komi will...
Unknown guy is out. Peace!
The references in this video will exclusively be Phineas and Ferb. Am I just missing something? Would this be done for comedy if this was a boy doing this stuff to Komi? You know, I hear that most of the cast gets abandoned in the second year, so I'm praying that Yamai is one of them. Let's ignore this psycho-lesbian stereotype and talk once again about my favorite character of the anime, Najimi. While I was hoping that the anime would move past the jokes surrounding the mystery of Najimi's gender, those jokes still do happen, but thankfully they are contained in one episode. During the field trip to Kyoto, Yamai questions why Najimi is sleeping with the girls. It also seems that Najimi took a bath by themselves, separate from both the girls and the boys. That stuff is annoying, but nothing offensive in my opinion. Outside of that, Najimi is the energetic ball of energy that everyone loves. I especially love this scene when Tadano is checking on the groups on the train. Najimi naturally fits in with each group. They are the ones who get the class into each crazy event, game, or competition. They bug a bunch of people to go to a study group together only to go to sleep when they start and only wakes up when they start to play a video game. They are also the only person in class besides Tadano that is comfortable around Katai. Najimi is without a doubt the wild card in any group dynamic that they are in. In the end, Najimi is everyone's best friend and everyone loves them. They are a little shit and easily the best part of Komi Can't Communicate. If there's a second season, I hope that Najimi returns to continue to put a smile on my face. Let's check in with our quarter of gay gals in this sometimes too complicated but still enjoyable Yuri Isekai series, The Executioner and Her Way of Life. One of the biggest twists of the series is that we learn that Akari has a hidden personality, one who reveals that she has been through the events of the anime countless times. In each loop, Menno dies and is unable to kill Akari, so Akari continues to rewind time in order to keep Menno alive. But because using her pure concept eats away at her personality and memory, she wants to be killed by Menno by the end of all this. So she does her best to manipulate things behind the scenes to keep Menno alive and to be the one to kill Akari in the end. Though it turns out that her constant rewinding of time is messing with the world in ways that she can't predict, like unleashing Pandemonium, one of the 4 human errors. This was definitely a dark twist that I honestly didn't see coming. It makes me view Akari in a completely different way and makes the relationship between her and Menno even more complicated, especially since Menno is slowly starting to figure out that something is wrong with Akari that she keeps hidden from her. And while she's still trying to find a way to kill her, Menno finds herself growing closer to Akari and entertaining the thought that maybe she wouldn't have to kill her if she can find a way to make sure that Akari's pure concept wouldn't go out of control like all of the other worlders. I previously said that I wasn't a fan of Momo because she exhibits some aspects of the predatory lesbian stereotype trope, and while she still has these moments here and there, I end up liking her character more in the second half of the season. It helps that we see her and Menno when they were younger and learn that Menno often protected Momo, which helps to explain why Momo is so devoted to her. To the point at the end of the season, Momo comes to realize that Menno is starting to have feelings for Akari, to the point where she might not kill her anymore. So Momo decides that she will kill Akari, so that Menno wouldn't have to go for any pain. It's also the fact that she's now frequently, though begrudgingly, paired with Asuna, as like a comedy duo. Asuna continues to follow Momo around to continue to challenge her to a fight, and no matter how many times Momo escapes her or tries to leave her for dead, Asuna continues to find a way to get back to Momo. Asuna continues to be my favorite character in the anime in just her attitude and style. She always finds herself where the other girls end up and loves to challenge them to fights. She doesn't want her royal guards and attendants following her, so she puts together a gang of fucking newsies to work for her instead. Plus, when she and Menno are going up against Pandemonium in the last episode, she gives Menno her sword and just uses her fist to punch the giant centipede. She's so fucking awesome. The Executioner and Her Way of Life is very unique in the world of isekai anime, continuing to bring interesting twists and turns with every arc, so it'll have to wait to be seen if it will get a second season or not. I was definitely looking forward to Vampire in the Garden ever since it was announced. A lesbian vampire romance anime created by Studio Wit? Consider me sold. And though I wish I got a few more episodes to flesh out the world and side characters, I think the central relationship of Fine and Momo were pretty great. In a post-apocalyptic world where a large portion of humanity has turned into vampires due to a virus and have taken over, a human resistance is slowly fighting back. On the human side, Momo finds herself trapped within the confines of the city, having to hunt vampires, unable to listen to music that she loves, and her abusive mother. On the vampire side, Fine, a queen and adored by her subjects, especially the women, finds herself wanting to run away, especially since she hasn't drinking blood in a long time. When the vampires attack the human resistance, Momo loses her friend and possible crush in the process and comes across Fine, the two ending up running away together. Though Momo is hesitant to let her guard down around Fine, she eventually warms up to her. Fine teaches Momo about music and how to dance, and the two decide to search for a place called Eden, a rumored paradise where humans and vampires live together in peace. As they travel together, the two grow closer and end up becoming attracted to each other, though Fine has trouble keeping control of her hunger for blood. We eventually learn that in the past, Fine was in a relationship with a human woman who looked almost identical to Momo, so identical that I thought that there was going to be some kind of twist that the woman was related to Momo in some way, but no. The woman died while the two were escaping both the humans and the vampires, since their relationship was taboo. Taboo because they are both women or because they are both vampires. Depends if you believe the theory that this anime is an allegory to Russian suppression of homosexuality. And this is the reason that Fine has sworn off drinking blood for so long. Fine and Momo reach what they believe to be Eden, though they learn that such a place never existed and was all a trap in the end. And as the human forces arrive to take Momo back and the vampire forces arrive to take Fine back, the whole area goes to hell. In the process, Fine ends up taking a special drug that will turn her into a monstrous form in order to protect Momo, allowing them to escape from this human versus vampire war. But since this is a vampire romance story, it's gotta end with tragedy. So the drug, plus all the injuries that Fine has been unable to heal since she hasn't drinking any human blood, ends up killing her in the end as she professes her love for Momo. And after the credits, we see that Momo has created an Eden of her own, where humans and vampires can live together in peace. While I'm usually not a fan of the bury your gays trope, I think it works fine here. There's a sense of tragedy that is throughout the entire 5 episodes, as the two struggle to run away together. But in the end, Momo was able to make a change in the war in Fine's memory. So, tragic lesbian vampire anime. Gotta be one of my favorite genres. The Revue Starlight finale movie came out here in America in the beginning of June, and I was so happy to see my favorite musical lesbians again. The queer relationships between each of the girls have always been more subtle than explicit, but come on. You know, they know, we all know. So let's talk about how this movie ends these relationships. The movie is all about the girls in their third year, getting ready for graduation and the future beyond that. Some of them are auditioning for the same company, while others are doing other things. But all of them feel anxiety towards the future, especially since the Giraffe hasn't brought any of the girls in for an audition in the year since the anime series ended. Karin is also feeling depressed because it seems that Hakari returned to London during that year, and now Karen doesn't know what her future stage looks like. However, Nana and the Giraffe blindsides the girls, minus Karin, with a new audition that Nana trounces them in, giving them all the encouragement and motivation to keep thriving for newer heights, despite their fearfulness of the future and their individual troubles. Meanwhile, as Hakari searches for Karin, Karin flashes back to her first time meeting Hakari, to the promise they made when Hakari left for London and Karin getting into Shiso. Now, the second half of the movie is all about the girls and their individual pairings fighting each other so that they can fight for what they want and get out all their grievances that they have with each other. So let's go through each audition one by one, talk about those grievances, see who comes out on top, and where the relationship ends. The first audition is between Futaba and Kuroko, where Futaba wants to audition for an acting company and Kuroko wants to return to her family in Kyoto to become head of the family that specializes in traditional dancing. The two have always had a codependence on each other, so Kuroko doesn't want to let Futaba go, especially since he's ascending higher than Kuroko is. But Futaba, winning the audition, tells her that she's only doing this because she wants to feel worthy enough to stand alongside Kuroko, so she has to get better. The two swear to stay close while Futaba gives Kuroko her motorcycle. The next audition is between Hakari and Mihiru, where Mihiru is auditioning for an acting company and Hakari is running away from Karin on the stage. Throughout the audition, Mihiru pressures Hakari to admit why she ran away and left Karin behind. And although Mihiru wins the audition, Hakari says that she was becoming scared because Karin is now shining brighter than ever before, and Hakari was scared that she wouldn't be strong enough to shine as bright and stand alongside Karin like they promised when they were young. Mihiru admits that she feels the same way as the two bond over their equal love for Karin, with Hakari continuing on the search for Karin. The next audition is between Juana and Nana, where Juana wants to go to a university to study theater more, and Nana wants to continue to repeat her school years with the other girls, especially with Juana, like she did before the events of the anime took place. As Juana wins the audition, she tells Nana that they all have to separate from each other in order to keep getting better and to always shine brighter. But even though they are going to different stages, they will always perform together by the end. The next audition is between Maya and Claudine, who are my favorite relationship, by the way, where Maya wants to audition for an acting company and Claudine wants to go study in France. The two consider each other rivals, and they both believe that the other person is the only one that can help them get to greater heights and shine better, that they are the only ones that can truly challenge them. Claudine wins the audition, but they both tell each other that their rivalry will continue forever as long as they continue to perform on the stage. And the last audition is between Karin and Hakari, where Karin thanks Hakari for introducing her to theater. Hakari apologizes for leaving and being afraid of Karin's brightness, and in doing so, helps Karin understand that she has never left the stage that she was looking for, and there will always be an audience that will be watching her and the other stage girls. Karin wins the audition and shines the brightest, activating Point Zero. The credits roll as we see where all the girls end up after graduation. Kuroko ends up becoming the head of her family. Maya, Mihiru, and Futaba all get into the same acting company that they were aiming for. Claudine goes to France to study ballet. Hakari and Juana both go to New York to study theater. Nana goes to the acting company in London that Hakari was previously studying at. And though we don't know exactly what Karin's future is, she'll always strive to be on stage and shine as bright as she can. The Revue Starlight movie ends the series in a nice way, closing out all of the characters' relationships and individual arcs. Though Revue Starlight has never been that explicit with their queer couples, I'll always love these stage girl lesbians to death. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is the Given OVA, titled On the Other Hand. The events that happen in this OVA happen alongside the Given movie that came out previously, since they are both adapted from the same manga volumes. But while that movie was about Akihiko and Haruki, this OVA shows what Ritsuka and Mafuyu were up to, basically adapting the moments of Ritsuka and Mafuyu from the manga that were left out in the movie. Since the manga volumes that the movie and OVA adapted from were centered around Akihiko and Haruki's conflict, Ritsuka and Mafuyu don't have that much to do. They go for relationship troubles here and there, but are able to work them out quickly by communicating with each other. They go to a festival together, have a stressful sleepover, and do stuff that tie in with the events of the movie. Nothing big in terms of character development or relationship progression. It's a nice, cute OVA, nothing more than that. The OVA also hints that Hiragi and Shizu, Mafuyu's friend from middle school, have an attraction to each other, which helps because if the Given anime continues, the next manga content centers around the two of them. And I do hope we get more of the Given anime. It's a BL anime that I love. Here's hoping. Alright, that's the end of the video. How shall I end it this time?
There you are, Perry.
Where am I?
And with handsome movie actor Vance Ward. He seems much faster on TV.